Once upon a time, in a faraway land, a young prince lived in a shining castle. His name was Bob, and he drove a pickup truck. Let's talk about voice and vocal modulation. I hate to use that hackneyed phrase, one of the things I get asked most often, but it is true that I get requests asking, how do you do your voice? How do you modulate it? Have you had any training? And the honest answer is no, I haven't had any training. I haven't been for elocution or coaching or anything down those lines. I'm just very conscious of voice. Now, it may surprise you to hear that when I was young, I actually spoke with a bit of a lisp and a high-pitched, squeaky voice. So the answer to the question, can you change your voice? Can you design it? Can you work on it? Do you have any control over it? Is absolutely yes. I first became very conscious of the sounds people make when I was about 11 or 12 years old. I grew up in South Africa, and one of the first things I noticed, and I'm not even sure why, was that locally we tended to pronounce our I sounds very gutturally. So if you listen to, say, a British speaker, they might say, "This is it." We would say, "This is it. This is it." It was a more guttural sound. And I'm not sure why I picked up on that, but I started becoming conscious of these kind of sounds that we make and the way people modulate. And I've always been fascinated by voice, and I guess informally, I study it and I try to understand how the human voice works and how you can improve your own. And I suppose through some degree of informal study, I've managed to do whatever I've done with my voice. I now work as a speaker, and I've done a lot of voiceover and radio work and so forth, so it's a great deal of practice. That makes a difference as well. But what I find helps for me is picking out icons whom I enjoy, people whose voices you simply like, perhaps like an Anthony Hopkins or Jeremy Irons, or Benedict Cumberbatch has got an exceptionally good voice as well.
In dragon voice, Benedict, could you say button lady?
Button lady. And you just pay attention to how they do what they do. I mean, Jeremy Irons, for example, has got some fabulous lines in different movies. He was in The Lion King saying, "Oh, but I was first in line, till the little hairball was born." And then, of course, James Earl Jones responds with, "That hairball is my son, and your future king." Brilliant voices. That little section of movie encapsulates two of the best voices the world has ever heard. Jeremy Irons has some great lines in all manner of movies. Die Hard 3, hook, line, and sinker. Or you might remember the old one with DiCaprio, Man in the Iron Mask, where he asks him, "Have your years in the Bastille broken you? Or have they given you reserves of strength unlike other men?" Now, by simply listening to and studying good voices and trying to deconstruct what's going on there from an audio perspective, you can actually learn to modulate your own voice and to improve the way that you present. But naturally, you have to be a little subtle about it. You can't, for example, in the middle of a casual conversation, say something like, "Hey Jim, how's it going? Oh, let me ask you something. Have your years in the Bastille broken you?" So there is a lot to be learned about how to do it subtly, how to drop your voice down, how to relax it, how to modulate it in ways that sound natural but which also sound good. Pick out and study your favorite voice. I've mentioned a couple of British actors. There's also, for example, from the United States, Mike Rowe has an exceptionally good voice.
A podcast happening right now. The only tools you really need for this, a pen to make some notes, and whiskey. Good for the chords. I prefer Bullet Bourbon, or whatever they have handy, here at One Union, finest recording studio in San Francisco, here in Studio 5.
And as you listen to these voices, ask yourself what it is that they're doing. Do they elongate vowels? Do they clip them off? Do they play with the words? What are the differences in the sounds that they make? And you can actually learn that way. I just seem to be attuned to sonic and audio information. I love beautiful voices, and frankly, a slurping sound can actually kill me stone dead. How would you like to sound? As an aspiring expert, as a professional, what kind of voice appeals to you? Don't overhaul your voice, but lean it toward the kinds of sounds that you prefer. By conscious effort, you can get rid of bad vocal habits, and you can include and grow and encourage new good ones. And while you're at it, of course, you can also have a little fun. Everyone has arrived. Good. Now let it flow. Let them feel the power of the dark side. Have fun with it. Make your voice what you want it to be, and you could own your industry.